First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference for inviting me and giving opportunity to speak on behalf of Chechen Republic of Ichkeria. We gathered at a particular moment. Russia's war against Ukraine has entered its fourth year. This war is not only a trial for the Ukrainian people, it is also a mirror for all of us who for decades have faced Moscow's imperial policy. For Chechens, Crimean Tatars, Circassians and Ukrainians, history speaks in unison. We know what deportation means. We know what the loss of statehood means. We know what repression and genocide mean. We understand the price of freedom all too well, because each of our nation has paid it with the lives of its sons and daughters. From the first day of the full-scale invasion, we understood clearly this is not only Ukraine's battle. It is a common struggle of all the peoples whom Russia has tried to subjugate. This is why Chechens began forming armed units on Ukrainian soil. Here in Ukraine, the Chechen army has been reborn. For us, it is a profound honor to be a part of the anti-Russian coalition and to contribute to the cause of international security. Today, one thing is evident. As long as Russia remains an empire, we have no future, neither in Chechnya, nor in Crimea, nor in the Caucasus, nor in the Ukraine itself. An empire will always attempt to seize our freedom, our land, and our culture. But we are, if we may use the word, deliberately destined to stand together. Not destined to suffer, but destined to survive together, to fight together, and to prevail together. There is no separate fronts in this war. Ukraine's fate is the fate of the North Caucasus. The fate of the Crimean Tatars is the fate of the Chechens and Circassians, and vice versa. This conference is further proof that what binds us is not merely political cooperation, but a shared historical destiny. We are joined by the memory of our victims, by the pain of our losses, and by a common hope that our children will live in free countries without fear and without dictatorship. I believe that this solidarity, a new strategy of freedom is being born for Ukraine, for Caucasus, and for all nations whom Russia seeks to deny a future. May today's gathering be a step toward that victory, the victory of truth over falsehood, freedom over oppression, and life over death. Thank you for your attention.
In Circassian tradition, the first thing we do is we welcome the guest. So we have Nadim and we have Radwan and we have others who traveled from long distances. You are our guest today. We welcome you warmly and we wish you good stay with us. And I hope one of the things I hate about overseas travel is the jet lag. You get tired, you go to conferences. It's so difficult to put together the speeches. So I hope you're not very tired because we are very, very interested in listening to what you have to say today. But I wanted to thank Walter for organizing this conference, and I wanted to thank others who participated, Zach, Linda, everybody else. Thank you so much. What I am going to do in the next 20 minutes, and please remind me if I exceed the time, but I think I will be able to do it. I want to give you an idea who Circassians and Circassia is, and our relations with Ukraine and the Crimean Tatar. And please understand, when I say Ukraine, I also mean at the same time Crimea, because as my friend Ayla Bekali says all the time, Crimea is Ukraine. So when we talk about Ukraine, we talk about also Crimea and the Crimean Tatars, who are dear friends and brothers. So in the history of Circassia, Circassia was a small nation, the northwest side of the Caucasus, of about an area of about 65,000 kilometers, the size probably closer to the size of the state of New Jersey, with a population at the time of about 2 to 2.5 million people, independent indigenous people who resisted all invaders throughout history. They did not know any homeland except Circassia. They were not known to live in any other area of the world except Circassia. Russia, at one time, they decided that they wanted to have a pass to the warm waters of the Black Sea for many reasons, and they found Circassia in the way. When they went to Circassia, they found it a very green, giving land, very rich of all the resources, of all the things that an empire, an oppressor empire like Russia would like to occupy. They did declare war against Circassia. The war lasted for 101 years officially, but actually it had started before that and lasted after that. It's the longest war in Russian history. Circassians were the most fierce, most resisting people to the Russian Empire in its history. In the Russian history, there is not a war lasted like the Circassian War, and there were not a people like Circassians who resisted them for so long. Many, many times larger than us as a nation, with unlimited resources, with armies that extended endlessly into the north. They kept attacking Circassia, and we kept defending Circassia for 101 years until a time that we could not fight anymore, with all the promises of England, the Ottoman Empire, France, the Europeans, the Americans, and everybody else. Eventually, they left us high and dry, just like they are doing to Ukraine today, or they are trying to do to Ukraine. But we kept resisting, and eventually Russians decided that the best solution against Circassians is to have Circassia without Circassians. So the slogan that they had declared since then until now, and it's still effective until today, Circassia without Circassians. And they sent us on a forced exile, ethnic cleansing, and destruction of the entire land of Circassia that caused the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, if not close to millions. And they exiled 90% of our nation to the Ottoman Empire and different parts of the world, but mainly to the Ottoman Empire and different countries of the Middle East. And they left a very small fraction in our motherland. And the purpose of this was to learn from Circassians how to use the land of Circassia. Circassians were excellent farmers, excellent horse breeders, excellent animal breeders, and the Russians did not have those skills to control Circassia. So they wanted to keep a small part of our population in order to learn how to run that big new Russian farm. Now they called it Circassia. And of course, they resettled the area with so many different nationalities. We went to different parts of the Ottoman Empire, mainly in Turkey. The Ottoman Empire decided to use Circassians as good soldiers in different parts of the Ottoman Empire to defend the Ottoman Empire and to form special forces, special units that helped the Ottomans in their wars, whatever their wars were at the time. Our people went to all these different nations since 1864 until now. We have built our communities, we have built our organizations. We have in Turkey about 150 organizations. We have in Syria about 11, 12 organizations. We have in Israel about 2, 3 organizations. Jordan, we have many organizations. In the United States, we have few organizations also. The purpose of these organizations was to protect the Circassian identity, the Circassian language, and to hope at one time that we will be able to return to our motherland, Circassia. Now, of course, Russians who really understood deeply the effect of diaspora against them. Since the Soviet Union until now, they have been trying to infiltrate our organization in order to control the Circassian diaspora population, not to form some type of a Circassian national movement that can ask for right of Circassians to get Circassia back. We fight that every day. They infiltrate our organizations every day. They change our plans every day. But we are able to stand face to face with them all the time, and we are able to do the things we need to do with the help of our friends, dear friends, Georgians, Ukrainians, Lithuanians, and others who stand with us, who understood our tragedy, who understood what we are today, and they are standing with us. The control of our organization is a typical one. Anyone who is here, a Ukrainian diaspora, Crimean Tatar diaspora, or Circassian diaspora, understand what they do. They come to any movement, any Circassian movement, they pretend to be part of that movement until they infiltrate in that movement, and they are directed in a way to be harmful to Russia. This fact in the past we did not understand. Today we clearly understand, and we stand against it, and we resist, and we are very successful in doing that. Needless to say, Circassian diaspora, whether in Turkey, Syria, Jordan, Israel, or any different place of the world, within a short period of time, they were able to rise and become, so to speak, I mean, that's a description of Paul Goebel, I would like to use it. They all the time managed to become the elite in armed forces, in security forces, in intelligence forces. I guess because of their discipline, of their desire to do something about oppression, or you'd find them in the top tiers of any Middle Eastern countries, military, security forces, intelligence forces, so on and so forth. And there is a third element to this, that the distance between the Circassians, 8 million of them in Turkey, about 12% of the population, is a couple of hours away actually from the North Caucasus. Russia had three concerns about Circassians. Number one, we exiled them in 1864. They did not disappear. They are still there. And not only that they did not disappear, they managed somehow to have a very respected position in the countries, the hosting countries that hosted them, that they are effectively in control of so many different organizations, whether it's a government organization, different organization. And the third and the most important one is that every single Circassian desire to be part of Circassia today. 158 years later, it's almost unheard of in the history of diaspora people that a nation with such a length of time away from motherland, they still carry that love and that desire to be part of their motherland. So these are major concerns to the Russian Empire. This is, according to many experts, some of them are Russians, the main concern for Russia today is if the North Caucasus is activated. Well, guess what we did? We are working on getting the North Caucasus altogether united and activated against the Russian oppression. I want to move to our relation with Ukraine. My dear friend Ivanka is here, Ayla is here, Andrei is here, Walter is here. Back at the first invasion of Russia of Ukrainian territory about 12 years ago, we were lucky to get together in New York with the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Ivanka was in charge at the time. With all the effort together, we put together all our effort and we formed some type of unofficial entity. We called it the American European Solidarity Council, that included Circassians, Ukrainians, Lithuanians, Georgians, and Poles, and all worked together to defend Ukraine. We have gone in demonstrations in New York City, in Washington, D.C., in New Jersey, in different places of the United States in support of Ukraine at the time. I remember in one of those winters, it was so cold that we had to bring cardboards and stand on them because the sidewalk was so cold and we couldn't stand. So it has been a good relation for so many years, continued until now. We had gone also with the Crimean Tatars in at least one demonstration in New York City when they shut down, I believe, Iyada, that radio station that we had to go on a demonstration right. So it has been, and then that good relation continued until a time the second Russian invasion came to Ukraine, and of course all the activism started again. We were lucky to connect with people with the Khorovna Rada. Maria Mesentseva is one person that came to New York City. We had to meet with her, and we explained to her that at this point it might be important for Ukraine to take an internationally recognized issue and address it. And that would be of a human rights nature. And that would be a recognition of a genocide. And we explained to her that this recognition, if Ukraine recognizes the Circassian genocide, well, first of all, this is a big blow to the Russians and their policies in the North Caucasus. Second, it can give Ukraine, with its beautiful, beautiful standing in the world, one more element that shows that Ukraine now is a nation that advocates international human rights, not only for Ukrainians, but also for other people who suffered from Russian oppression. Maria and others and people, Chechens and brothers and others and the Crimean Tatars in Ukraine worked on this issue with the Khorovna Rada until not long ago. Remind me of the date, Adel, if you would, please. The Ukrainian parliament recognized the Circassian genocide. January 9 of 2025, we got the Circassian genocide recognized in Ukraine. Maria is such a fascinating person. So not only that she pushed for that recognition with her colleagues, but she also sent letters to different countries of the world, to different parliaments of the world, to urge them to also recognize the Circassian genocide and to connect to different areas of the world to get the Circassian cause in the perspective of their genocide into the project of recognition, so as to give good momentum to the Circassian cause. What this did do to Circassian is very important. It somehow energized Circassians. When we had the recognition in the Georgian parliament, we were called people who worked for the CIA looking to destabilize the North Caucasus, and this is Georgia because they hate Russia. They are doing this right now. It's all political. But when Ukraine recognized the genocide, Russians did not say a word. Not yes, not good, not bad, nothing. Because talk about the Circassian genocide by Russia is only going to prove more that actually the genocide is an issue worth addressing internationally. Now, I wanted to come back to this issue again, but I wanted to talk about what we have done. Now, of course, in the North Caucasus, there are at least five nations, of fairly large size. Circassian is the largest one of them with about 8 to 9 million people, 90% of them in diaspora, but there are also the Chechen, the Ingush, and the Dagestani, these fourth nation. These people, they fought Russia in the same war. They defended their land. They were exiled. They were killed. Genocide were committed against them. And I happen to have a dear friend who is today the Prime Minister of Chechnya, the Republic of Ishkeria, who is commanding a battalion, a military battalion in Ukraine to defend and fight against the Russians. With his connections in Ukraine, of course, who opened the doors for us in many different areas, with his connection in different parts of the world, he thought of an idea that I thought that it was worthwhile doing, and that is to create the so-called North Caucasus Nations Committee, meaning it's not only Circassians today who are united in fighting against Russia or opposing Russia's policy in the North Caucasus and elsewhere, and Ukraine, of course, but now we want to join forces with the Chechens, with the Ingush and the Dagestanis, who are the nations of the North Caucasus. We met in Kiev, actually, to discuss the project. And we got the blessing on that from so many different people in Kiev. And we processed the project, and we established the rhythm and the foundation of that North Caucasus Nations Committee in Brussels not long ago, where we formed the so-called North Caucasus Nations Committee. And the purpose of this is to unify those nations in a way or another and to oppose the Russian oppression inside and outside the North Caucasus and help nations who are actually fighting against Russia, in particular Ukraine. That's the most important thing. So many of you will hear a speech from Prime Minister Zakayeva later on today, 5 minutes addressing this conference. But he is the one man that is credited for creating the idea and make it happen. Well respected in Ukraine and in Europe, well connected in all over the place in Europe. Circassians with the Chechens are able to advance beautifully in Europe. Not as much in the United States, but at least in Europe, we have been able to really establish a lot. Where do we go from here? It is very important. We talk about history, and I know fairly good about the Circassian history and other people's history and things like that, but our pursuit of the Circassian genocide recognition is not only to have a historical issue presented today and for people to understand. The fact is that many of our people, many of our Circassian nation inside and outside the Caucasus did not know that there was a genocide, and the genocide actually intended to erase an entire nation from existence. We thought we were Muslims. The Russians wanted to fight us. We decided to take our religion and leave our homeland. This was not the fact. The fact is that they came to us, Muslims or not. They wanted to eliminate the entire nation entirely by itself. So many Circassians today who listen to the news, who hear the news about the recognition of the Circassian genocide, it's giving us an international momentum to get many, many Circassians on our side. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when we had Georgia recognize the Circassian genocide, very few Circassians stood with us. Many of them opposed us. The biggest organization we had in Turkey, headed by a Circassian, believe it or not, he would send a letter to the Georgian parliament asking them to withdraw their recognition of the Circassian genocide. This is how bad it is. Today, those people who opposed us during the Georgian recognition of the Circassian genocide claim the credit for the recognition of the Circassian genocide. So the more we do this, the more it seems that we are awakening Circassians. The more Circassians are awakened, the more North Caucasus people are awakened. The more we are united in this idea, in the quest for Circassia, the more likely that Circassia will happen. And why is Circassia for us? Today we are diaspora people. We had suffered a lot by assimilation. Just to give you an example. When Circassia was 2 million people, Turkey, as part of the Ottoman Empire, was 7 million people. We are 2 million, Turkey was 7 million. Turkey today is 80 million. We Circassians think we are 8 millions, but we don't know exactly the number. But even if that number is accurate, if Turkey was able to multiply and become 10 times its size, where did the Circassians go? This is what we have suffered. Our nation was killed. Our nation was forced in deportation. The element of the genocide is continuing until today, and we are losing each other. Every day passes, we are losing Circassian to assimilation in different countries of the world. Unless we are connected back to our motherland, Circassia, we will not stand a chance of existing into the future as a nation. Today, our nation has its heart in the Caucasus and its swing The two wings that we fly with today are in our diaspora communities. Circassians in the United States initiated that project. It was responded to by so many people, especially in Turkey and the North Caucasus. But today, the most truthful Circassians who advocate the spirit of Circassia in their mind and their hearts are in the North Caucasus. Combining this with the other North Caucasus nations people, we are looking very, very hopeful into the future of having Circassia. I know that time is up, and I was trying to speak quickly so to save time, but I wanted to tell you that we have today Adil Bashqawi. He is a Circassian, Captain Adil Bashqawi, and we have a book about Circassia in Ukraine. We have 2 copies of this, but Adil is willing to send an electronic copy of this book to anyone. And also we have another publication here that is called Victory, No Surrender in Ukraine, Why It Matters. We have about 20 copies out there. Anyone who would like to have one, you are more welcome to have it. With that, I thank you very much for the time, and I'm sorry that I have exceeded the time. And Walter, I'll give you back the